Hi, Rusty. I'm so excited to be here today.
Well, welcome, Shauna.
Well, we're going to start with some expectations that you might entering the school system now that you need to be aware of. And some of the first things that we want to talk about are your professional responsibilities. You want to think about how you're going to treat your students, so your classroom community. You start thinking how you're going to build that. Another thing you want to think about is your colleagues on campus and getting to know them and reaching out to them for help too. Okay. Some other professional expectations that you might have are making sure you're professionally dressed on and showing up to work on time, making sure you know your duties. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay.
All the way to
So we're
purple, they get a ticket and a chance for the drawing on Friday. And then if they clip down to red, it's parent contact. And my policy for parent contact is they write a note home to their parent and have to get in explaining what they did wrong for that day, and then have to get it signed and brought back to school.
okay. That is a very good behavior strategy. What I like about it is too is so what I'm hearing you say is the students have a chance to actually like redeem themselves. If they have a bad moment, they can actually clip up if they're
Correct.
doing better, so they don't get stuck in one position all day long. They actually have the opportunity to improve on their behavior.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that will be helpful. What else do you have going on?
So I also do table points. So they have a chance as a group atmosphere. I've set up in my class tables of four. So they have a chance as a group to work together and help each other with their behavior, be on task. And if the group is cooperating and doing as asked as a whole, then they get table points. When a table gets to 10 points, they get to have lunch in the classroom with me for whatever day they choose. And it's not a system based on first come wins. It's whenever your table reaches 10 points, then you get to have lunch with me.
So all table groups have that opportunity to win. It's not just one team wins and the rest lose. It's everybody has a chance to win. It's as soon as you earn points, you get to win.
Correct, yes.
Well, that's really good because sometimes students will get very discouraged if they see one table group ahead of all the others, and the low table group can give up if they think there's no chance for them to win. So it's very smart of you to incorporate a behavior strategy where it's equal for everybody gets that chance to win. So hopefully you'll see some success with that. What I really like is collaborative learning is very important for student engagement. So I think setting your kids up in teams of four is going to be very helpful for you when you want that collaborative learning going on, when you're asking questions. I know you're starting to learn a little bit of the Kagan structures and the Kagan seating, and I see you starting to utilize that, and I think that's really going to help you with your management as well.
Yes, and so I have my table set up with the stronger kids or partnered with the stronger kids, just like the Kagan structure. So it's set up within that the strong kids, then semi-strong, then medium, then weak.
Yes, you're trying to avoid that super high kid working with that super low kid
Correct,
because
yes.
that just causes a frustration level on both people's parts. So I know you were telling me that you're setting your kids up like that medium high goes with that low kid because they can help explain, and that high kid goes with that medium low kid so they're not super low. And I think that's really good strategic seating.
Correct, yes. And as well, partnered with that, they have A-B partners. So that also transitions. They have the same partners on the carpet. So they're always an A or they're always a B. So it helps me say A's. So when you come to observe, we will be reading or listening to a story using an online program. And they will be listening to it, and then we will go over what the author was trying to do and the different parts of that strategy.
Okay. So I really want you to think about that learning target. Okay. So for this lesson, because there is what do you really want your students to think in the end? What is the big thing I want them to be able to do with any story? And it's probably if it's to figure out why did the author write this or what was their reason for doing it. So really think about that target this weekend of how like what you want your kids to really be able to do and how they're going to get there and how they're going to know if they're successful. Because we're also adding in that success criteria soon too of really letting the students know I'm doing what my teacher needs me to do and I know I'm doing it right. Okay, so think about those targets and how you want to articulate that to your kids.
Which brings up a good point because I need to work on how am I going to test to see if they learn the skill. So what kind of
Checking for understanding. So think about that too. Is it going to be a question? Can you maybe pose a nice question to them that lets you know if they're understanding it or not. And I think that what's going to be nice is because you have your kids in those AB partners, you can ask that question and get everybody to answer it. So use that, really capitalize on that AB partner, posing a question, making sure each person answers it, going around and listening to what the kids say, maybe doing some cold calling to hear what they say.
Okay.
But I think you're right. How are you going to make sure? So think what is going to be your strategy to make sure that they are understanding or they are learning.
Okay.
You can teach it, but did they learn it, right? And that's what you have to see.
Okay. And then also in regards to reading and differentiation with the students, so and this is for all schedules, but or for all classes, reading, math, and everything, but specifically for reading. So we have differentiated. I've differentiated my students into intensive, strategic, and on grade level
Okay.
students. So in my reading class is just on grade level students. So my strategic and intensive class, or intensive kids, go to different intervention teachers during the reading schedule. So while I'm teaching the lesson, it's just specifically on grade level students, and there's no differentiation needed.
Okay, and you're right. So basically, you have the kids who are basically all the same reading level, and the other kids are getting serviced at their level throughout the grade level. But I want you to think about, even when you have kids all on the same level, that you might still need to differentiate a little bit. And differentiation is not just giving somebody a different worksheet or a different story. It's how are you changing up your teaching to get to them. So you might do partner work, you might do solo work, you might incorporate a whiteboard. So there's lots of different things you can do within your lesson too that can differentiate it for the different learning needs. I just don't want you to get too focused on, okay, I have all these same level kids, because a lot of times even within the same level there's many levels. So just be prepared.
Perfect. Okay. Well, next we will talk about the Teach Now rubric and how it will be evaluated in the clinical practice part of this program. So we'll start. So here's the rubric.
Okay, so these are the teacher in-test standards. So these are, the in-test standards are professional teaching standards for all teachers. So it looks like we're looking at standard 1, student development, and your rubric is basically, it's like a 0 to 5, where if you're doing awesome to where you're doing not so great. This is, and this is something I think you should look at, because it just from each area, you see the little minute differences that get you there. So I can see that. All right. And we have standard. What's the next one? All right. Standard 2, learning differences.
So that would be the differentiation strategies and what you do to.
Absolutely. Just some of those Kagan structures are differentiation strategies. Okay. A lot of people think differentiation is just, I have to give a lower kid something different. And it's not. Sometimes you have to differentiate your lesson within your time. Like you have to do something different because they're not getting what you're doing.
So like manipulatives.
Manipulatives can be yes.
Or working with a partner, like those would be 2 different ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes, so when you're doing that checking for understanding in the middle of your lesson, because you don't want to wait to the very end of your lesson to see if they got it, because you might have to change your teaching within that moment.
So then just the last thing would be students in the class. And just kind of as I said, I do have some intensive students. So without saying names.
Is it recording still? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, it is. Okay. So just without saying names, I do have some high risk students. One that goes to SPED, and but he's in my class during half of the day. He requires pretty much a 24/7 attention, complete. He's very defiant, so complete always interacting with him and making sure he's on task, because he will bother other students. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. And then I do have some other strategic kids that have issues of their own that just have to be watched.
So that's something you want to think about, because sometimes giving all of your energy to one student all day long like that can really impact